We're here with Congressman DeFazio, and the president really focused on infrastructure so much throughout the speech. And what was your take from what he said?
Well, he was talking very practically about addressing rebuilding the American economy, putting people back to work. One of the most certain ways, tried and true, is investment in infrastructure. He talked about $50 billion. That's a good small down payment. We used to be number one in the world for infrastructure. A decade ago, we were number 10. Now we're 25th in the world. We're headed toward the bottom. We need a massive investment to rebuild our 20th century infrastructure, let alone talk about a more energy, fuel efficient, less congested 21st century infrastructure. I'm pleased there was some emphasis on it, but there's a heck of a lot further we need to go than $50 billion on things he talked about tonight.
Now, you've walked these halls for quite a long time, and you've seen transportation bills pass so easily with no trouble. A bridge bill was always an easy bill to pass. Under this new Republican Congress, that seems not to be the case. What's the change?
Well, the last Congress was a disaster in terms of dealing with the Transportation Committee and John Mica from Florida. But I believe there's a whole new attitude with Bill Schuster from Pennsylvania. His dad was chair of the committee when we did real bipartisan transportation bills. Bill wants to bring us back to that. Tomorrow he's holding his first hearing. It'll be on the need for federal investment in infrastructure. Unfortunately, there's 80 or 90 Republicans who are devolutionists. They believe that even though they're theoretically these Tea Party constitutionalists and transportation is in the Constitution, they don't believe the federal government should invest in or has any obligation to invest in a system of national transportation. Pretty crazy. I mean, crazy in the 19th century. I mean, George Washington started canals, Abraham Lincoln railroads, Dwight David Eisenhower National Highway System, Ronald Reagan transit. And Barack Obama has pushed high-speed rail. So, it's something that, has been, before this group of people came to Congress, a bipartisan issue, and I think Bill Schuster is going to try and rebuild that and educate some of his members on the need for that kind of investment.
Now, speaking about that investment, we were one of the few developed countries in the world to not have true and real high-speed rail, which is very unlikely to come through this Congress. But do you think if the Democrats do get control again, we will see a true and real high-speed rail in this country?
I talk about higher speed rail, actually, rather than high-speed rail. Most countries that have it, they own the right-of-way. We don't own the right-of-way except in the Northeast Corridor. It's owned privately, so we have to partner with the railroads who have different needs. But I can see a way toward a higher speed rail system that serves a lot of this country. And in some areas, particular corridors, it could be true high-speed rail, but that will generally require acquiring new right-of-way, which the Californians are finding out is pretty difficult in an already congested country. And in the Northeast, it could be done on the East Coast since we do own the right-of-way. So it's going to vary around the country, but we can do a heck of a lot better than we're doing today with trains that are running pretty much slower than in the 19th century.
I couldn't agree with you more, Congressman. Hopefully we'll see true and meaningful transportation reform, and hopefully you'll be the lead on that, sir, because I think it's something that's so important. And not only that, but it creates thousands of jobs for many working families.
And remember, I'll talk about this all the time. People say, well, Congressman, I don't do construction. I say, well, we're not talking construction. If we're talking about transit, we're talking about very sophisticated manufacturing, including software, computers, fabrication, engineering, design. We're talking about a lot of jobs, high value-added jobs. We're talking about basic manufacturing in terms of steel, and we're also talking about construction. And we need jobs in all those areas, and transportation's one of the few investments that yields jobs in all those areas.
Yes, indeed it does. For every billion spent, 34,000 jobs created. And we hope, like I said, we hope we really truly see it in this Congress because it's something that's needed for this country. We have 70,000 bridges that desperately need to be repaired, and we know that you're leading the way on that, sir.
Right. We're starting tomorrow. Going to build the case and try and educate some of our less enlightened colleagues.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.